All right. InfusionPoints, pilot proposal for 20x phase 2. Welcome to 20x phase 2. We got a few members of our team here today to listen through and pay attention to what your approach is, to hear how you're going to go about tackling the significant additional requirements and expectations in phase 2. Nicole, what are you going to be looking for in this presentation? What's on your mind today?
I have a lot of things on my mind, but I think the most important thing I'm looking for is really tying in that automation piece and reporting that continuously to get a real-time view into your actual security posture. That's what we're really focusing on and keying in on for phase 2.
Emu, how about you? What's on your mind?
Well, there's a lot of phase 1 veterans in the room, so I'm definitely looking forward to see how they're leveraging that experience to evolve for phase 2.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, one of the things I'm always thinking about, like we kind of saw this refine through phase 1 into phase 2. Is like phase 1 was kind of like, we don't really know how this is going to happen. We don't really know how you're going to make this work. We just think you can. Can you? And so like we've proven that, yes. Okay, you can. So now it's like, all right, can we get value out of this? I am really looking forward to seeing across everyone in phase 2 how you demonstrate like your goals. So it's not just a key security indicator, I met this bar, but like what are you actually trying to accomplish by the execution of this KSI? So I can't wait to see if that's something we hear about today. If not, we'll probably ask about it and hear about it later. So with that, I am going to hand it over to the InfusionPoints team to start their pitch. You're starting around 3:07, so you have until 3:27. If you don't take the full 20 minutes, that's okay too. Over to you all. Why should you be in the phase 2 pilot?
All right, I'll go ahead and kick things off. So real quick introduction about myself, and then we're going to be jumping right in. So my name is Chad Spears. I'm the Director of Security of Operations here at InfusionPoints. We've met before, so it's great seeing y'all again. And listen, right, you mentioned phase 1 veterans. We appreciate that, and we're honored by that. So I don't necessarily need to jump into the background fully of InfusionPoints, but one of the things that is important is to talk a little bit about the background of what we're going to be kind of presenting today, and to help you understand, our validation approach through this. It's important to understand, what is XBU40. And so at InfusionPoints, we developed this opinionated XBU40 design that you're going to hear me talk about. And this is all based on years of hands-on experience with customers, helping them achieve FedRAMP authorization, at the low, the moderate, the high, IL4, IL5, and even DISA levels. But it's not just about achieving the authorization. We are currently operating these environments for customers as well. So we're hands-on with the customer, helping them, but because we know that FedRAMP is not a one and done, right? And so it's continually, it's already been discussed, right? Can you continually prove that the environment's secure? And so we understand that from an operational stance, and that's what we're accustomed to helping our customers do. And so this gives us, deep insight to common challenges that the customers were facing, but not only customers, even the agencies and some of the challenges they were facing. And so we combined all that into our approach, right? And so as we move through the slide deck here, I'm going to kind of dive into our approach around that, and then how we are tackling phase 2. So as we move on, go ahead and go to the next slide there, whoever's driving for me. In the agenda today, we're going to kind of talk about each of those, right? That data sharing, that XBU40 Trust Center, the automated validation at scale, and then we'll hand it over to the 3PAO as we've discussed. And so let's go ahead and go to the next one here. And so XBU40, it was purpose built to help customers deploy and operate, as I mentioned, secure FedRAMP ready environments. And so XBU40 as well, we're proud to say this, is our 20x low authorized environments. So this is exactly what we took through the low submission there. And so we're really, really proud of that. And, unlike other vendors, we differ a little bit. We don't just provide a tool, okay? Now, I didn't say we're not providing a tool. We find that that's very important, but we're also providing a fully compliant environment that customers can kind of come up and plug into. And so, XBU40, again, leveraging that opinionated pre-engineered architecture really allows the customers to do one thing. And we found that this is the importance and obviously the goal for customers as well. It allows them to kind of take on those security requirements and compliance requirements that are already baked in and hit the ground running, right? So it really fast tracks the process for the customer when they get plugged in. And so again, how are we doing that? And one of the important things is now looking at 20x moderate in phase 2, right? It allows the customers to plug in and already start meeting those requirements and aligning with that rather than trying to retrofit. We've come into environments where they try to retrofit the requirements in, and we've seen the error of the way, if you will. And so, hey, how are we doing that with XBU40? Well, here's the one thing. We're leveraging cloud native services. And it allows us to maintain a complete, authoritative, even inventory of all the cloud resources. Listen, nothing gets swept under the rug. Nothing can hide when you're leveraging those solutions. And so this guarantees that, every component is checked during the KSI validation or continuous monitoring, and that every asset is accounted for in real time as well, as you're going to be seeing. And so, hey, it's always important as well, the buzzword out there nowadays, AI, right? This allows, we are looking and road mapping some AI solutions into XBU40, already have some stuff in beta, but also providing that secure foundation for customers to hit the ground running and provide their AI components to the federal market space as well. And so, again, hey, XBU40 in a nutshell, right? It is pre-built FedRAMP aligned infrastructure as code. It's hardened security from day one, right? So the customer doesn't have to worry about retrofitting it and trying to think about security as an afterthought. Provides that continuous monitoring and that automated vulnerability assessment throughout the environment. And it's 100% hosted on AWS Gov. And so as we jump in now, we're really going to start getting into the validations and our approach a little bit. Thought it was very important to discuss the background there as we jump in. And so as we move to the next slide here, again, I mentioned to you that we're not just providing a tool. However, I did state that it's very important that the customers do have a tool. And so we do have a tool within XBU40, and it's called Command Center. And so some of the screenshots, and I must pause and state this. I should have started off with this. Listen, number one, I apologize because, yeah, Pete's laughing. We had a conversation about this at InfusionPoints internally, and we can't believe that we're providing y'all screenshots, noting that this is the exact same thing that we're trying to get away from. But listen. It is what it is at this point. We'd love to show it to you live in a demo. I think some of you have already seen it before, but again, I thought we'd have a good little laugh over that. But as we go through this, right, in Command Center and what this provides for the customer. So Command Center is our centralized GRC tooling, and it's going to allow the customer the ability to kind of operate their environment within the XBU40. And so what does operation mean, right? Well, it's that single pane of glass for security, compliance, and then overall the FedRAMP 20x validation checks that you're going to see as well, right? And so what we're going to do here and what you're seeing right here is we're going to kind of take a high-level approach of the KSIs and how we're presenting that data, and then we're going to get deeper and deeper into that. And so this first view that you're seeing here is that KSI family overview, right? And we were really super excited when it came to 20x when it started, because we started looking at this and it's like, well, how are we going to group these things? And then all of a sudden KSI started coming out and we're like, oh, okay, hey, we got this whole new thing. We love it. Now we've got a way to group these. And so we've aligned with those KSI families and we'll continue to adopt that. But each KSI family here provides that high-level overview of the compliance validation and the status, right? So just in this screenshot right here, we can see KSI CMT. You can see that we're meeting 100% compliance based off that. And you can also look down through there and see the validation checks that are within there. And we're going to drive there in just a minute. But you can also see, hey, if there would have been one that's not being met of the validations, it would show up there. And again, we've shown that in our demos before. But hey, that high level is one thing, but let's kind of take a step down, right? And so as we take that step down within Command Center here, if you click into the KSI family, it's going to take you to that KSI granular view. And so each family has the ability to do this, but allows for this drilled down view of the individual KSI validations showing the compliance status at this granular level. So there's a few things from this screenshot here that I want us to take a look at. So number one, the total findings. Hey, am I checking the number of validations per the KSI family that FedRAMP is requiring? Yeah. Okay. The KSI findings, right? And so from there, am I getting data back? That's important. Should you not get anything back, we want to flag that and know that. Do we have any non-compliant findings? And this is one of the things we're going to get into as well, because it goes back to that prove it to me, right? That we just discussed a little bit. So you're seeing percentage there, but then also these other two right here. I got to tell a story with one of them, but you'll see that the automated findings, right? This is one of the things going through the audit process and helping our customers along throughout our time at InfusionPoints. You know, we continue to say to ourselves, we could automate this. We could make our lives so much easier. You know, I'm providing the same screenshots over and over and over again. My engineers, I got one of them on the phone here. Alex is like, man, I could run a command and just set this thing to repeat and provide the same evidence. And so, hey, we're glad to see that and really embracing the automation. But as much as we were embracing the automation, our president, if you will, that's on here, Gary Damer said, listen, you're not just going to provide it still that point in time, because let's be honest, automation in itself can still be point in time, right? One of the things that Gary stated is, no, if we're going to pull the data in the manner that we're going to pull it in, we're going to pull it live. So it allows the customer, the agency, whomever's leveraging the system, to truly understand what is my compliance right now. That was one of the things that we had a long discussion about, and we've even got some great podcasts out there about it, is, you know, point in time audits. They are, unfortunately, we feel like they're dead, right? Because it shows the compliance of the environment at that point in time. Well, what about the other 11 months or, 12 months and 2 weeks, right, out of the year? What's the posture there? And so we are doing all these checks live within the environment. And we do have the ability, you know, if you wanted to kind of tune that a little bit as well, you could do that, but you can kind of click run now, if you will. But they are, each time these KSIs are pulled up, it's fresh data that's coming at you. All right, as we jump on down, KSI checks. Oh, no, go back to last screenshot. I'm so sorry, Tanner. KSI checks there. You can see each family in the actual KSI. But one of the important things as well that to look at is the collection method, right? So API there, right? So we want to ensure that we're pulling this from a code perspective, right? And so API integrations are very critical to us here. And so next you'll see the criteria there. That's coming directly from FedRAMP, right? What is it that we are being asked for to present and prove, if you will? Then you're also going to see the source. All right, where within the XBU40 environment or the customer's environment are you pulling this from? Hey, it's one thing that you're showing me the data, but how can I know that this came from the solutions that are deployed, right? And so you can see the source there, and then you'll also see the validation method that it is automatic. It's an automatic check. Okay, so again, this is that granular view. So now granular is great, but as we approach this, and Ethan may touch on this a little bit, we said to ourselves, this is great, but this is not going to pass an audit. You can't just show red, green, yellow and say, hey, yeah, trust us. We had to provide more detailed. And so as you now go into each KSI itself, the approach we took is just that's already been discussed. Hey, prove it to me, show me the validation, and tell me why we can trust this. And so at this detailed level, not only does each KSI allow for, again, that status level and that granular level, but now we have the detailed level, and it allows the users, auditors, agencies to review the actual metadata that directly answers each KSI. So this provides validation, overview, and details for the assurance that the information that was collected is coming from the environment, and it shows you actual outputs. So as we look at this screenshot here, same KSI family, as you'll notice, we just drilled into one of the validation checks there, and so you'll notice that the status was passed. We collected it via API, and the criteria there, the question, if you will, that we're answering to. But then more importantly, you can look over and see the validation timestamp. This was actually somebody was working, burning the midnight oil here at 3 a.m., pulling this together. But the explanation is what's important unto us, right? So for the XBU40 environment, how can we trust this? All right, and you can see there that our answer answers that as well. So it's answering the criteria question for each KSI. Answering the question is great, but now where's the data to prove that? And so we have redacted the data, but you'll see, you can actually see some raw metadata right there. You'll notice the assets there. Remember me talking about nothing can hide if you're leveraging the cloud native cloud services, right? And that's what's so important. Nothing gets swept under the rug. Nothing can kind of hide in the cracks or hide in the corner. So you can see each asset that was touched and checked. That's each account that may be connected as well. You can actually see, this is what's so important to us when talking with Ethan and the auditor, was, hey, here's the actual command that was ran from our Lambda automation. So you'll see the command ran. If you were to take that exact command right there and run that in the CLI, you're going to be presented with the actual output that we're presenting to you as well. But it was one thing to say, yes, trust that output, but we actually wanted to code hash it as well to prove, again, hey, it was ran at this time, and here's the hashing itself. And so that's what you're seeing as well there. There's some code hashing that goes with that, and the actual function name that ran that command. We did redact the metadata down below. There's all the metadata that would be there and answering that. But that is that's part of the actual screen here as well in that detailed view. So what does this provide? Well, it provides that single interface for real-time 20x KSI validation, pulling the evidence directly out of the environment, leveraging the native tooling. It ensures complete and trustworthy compliance scoring throughout, leveraging the automated assets, the configuration inventory, and everything that the cloud service provider provides us within the XBU40 environment. As I mentioned, nothing slips through the cracks there. And what we found is just overall, this is going to reduce the audit preparation, really. It takes it from weeks down to even hours, right? By continuously validating that in that live real-time data gathering piece. And that's one of the things as well, right? The data is already there. The mandate in InfusionPoints was just pull the data that's already there, right? And so prove what the environment has running. And so this is going to keep customers and even agencies mission focused, allowing them to save time, right? And, hey, quickly, I can trust this. This tells me I can trust it. There's the explanation as to why this meets the criteria. Let's move on. And allows them to stay mission focused and get their product out to market and allow the government to leverage their product. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, because we do have a few more things here as well with this. There's some requirements that are a little tricky, right? And that being the documentation pieces, right? Hey, there are some KSI checks that say, hey, simply, do you have have this doc? Is it there? Well, one of the great things about Command Center is there's a doc repo built in. Ties back into some of our Trust Center stuff we're going to be touching on here in just a minute. But we do have KSI checks that would go out and validate, hey, does that document exist within Command Center? And, with that, we can even as well, you'll notice there the asset there's the actual machine readable, heard those words before, right? There's the machine readable output as well in JSON formats of that document there. So should we need to read that via code? We definitely can. So even documents are being checked as well. So as we move on to the next one here real quickly, to the next slide. So, the driver for us here at InfusionPoints, right? Whenever the initial release of the 20x moderate RFCs came out, let me take a step back. We received the low authorization, man. We took a victory lap. We loved it here in InfusionPoints. But Gary said it's a short victory lap. Now let's get back on the mission, because low was never the goal for us, right? We wanted to continue to drive as long as 20x was driving. And so we immediately, hey, unfortunately, I hate to say this, the government may have stopped for a bit, right? And took a little bit of a pause, but we didn't. And so we continued to work and keep on driving, because we kept on asking ourselves, how can we make this better? And one of the things that we actually did here at InfusionPoints was, because we do have multiple sides of the house, we are a 3PA ourselves, we brought in some individuals that kind of assist in audits as well, and said, hey, review what we're presenting and tell us how we can present this data better. And so with that, we kind of got a different lens here at InfusionPoints that really helped us say, how can we present this data better to the customer, to the agency, and then prove this in a different manner. And so, hey, we're excited. We began prototyping newer dashboards and providing kind of different ways and views to prove the compliance at every requirement, right? And so we aligned early to the new KSIs that were coming out. And so this early engagement really ensured that our validation dashboards and the KSI evidence collection, the automated inventory, all of those things really mapped directly with the intent of the RFCs. We had some deep discussion about, hey, what's this RFC really asking? What's this new KSI really looking for? So that we can ensure that we are meeting the authoritative evidence expectation, right? And so one of the other things that's kind of new to phase 2 as well, and I touched on it just a second ago, is this this trust center piece, right? And so one of the things that we have with XBU40 that is completely separate is our trust center. So this is going to extend the visibility by offering a few things, right? You now have a public view of the service that's being leveraged, but also a private view. And so with that public view, right, it's going to give you the KSI validations just that I showed, but at that higher level, overview level, right, to give you kind of that score, all right? But if you authenticate, or if you register and authenticate to the trust center, and maybe that's a specific agency that's being leveraged for this as a sponsor that needs to see that detailed information, they could then log in and see that actual metadata from the trust center as well. But also you'll notice right here in the screenshot, we're leveraging the trust center even for our submission as well for this, because there's a doc repo built in there as well. So you can make some of those documents public as well, and you can kind of allow them. So what does that mean, right? Why that? Well, now we have two separate, you got command center that allows you to operate the environment, still get the same data, but you have this other aspect of it with the trust center that allows them to view the pertinent data for them, right? One of the other things here that you're seeing as well is this ATO monitoring. So within command center, the public machine readable information that's been made public out there, we pulled that into a centralized platform here in a centralized location. So you can see if there's an agency that has multiple ATOs, singular pane of glass right here. Why is that important? Well, because we heard the words machine readable and we said to ourselves, we can then present the data across the board to everybody, and almost a scorecard, if you will, allowing agencies to say, hey, you need to focus over here because we're seeing you got an audit coming up. You need to be looking at this. And so we're really proud about that. Now, here's the thing is how are we going to scale this thing, right? So we've got two approaches here, right? So customers can simply sidecar. They pull up right alongside of us with their AWS accounts and plug directly into XBU40, and we'll start pulling those validations and the KSIs directly into their own command center there. But here's the thing. Hey, don't have an AWS account? That's fine. InfusionPoints can provide you an AWS account. Remember, stating we're already providing the environment, get you off on the ground running quickly. And so we can deploy that account. They start deploying their applications and they start getting those pre-hardened configurations and KSI checks. But then also as well, hey, what about the other customers? Well, we do have roadmap, and we have even kind of a prototype out there where we're working to deploy that forwarder, that lunchbox that can go with you, if you will. Do these same checks, because again, we understand the cloud service provider. It's the same across whatever cloud service provider, maybe different commands, but the data's there. We can pull that to prove it. And so again, allowing customers to plug into XBU40 and leverage the same solution. So I think I'm right at time now. I'm going to digress. We'll go to the next slide and allow Ethan to be the star of the show here. Ethan.
Sorry if I cough too much. I've been sick for like 2 weeks. Yeah, so the process doesn't really change much for us this time around. It's kind of 3 prongs to it. When we went through the first pilot phase, there's the code, there's the product, and then there's still some interviews and observation sessions. So I still have direct access to all the Lambda automation code, so I can inspect those things for is it doing what they say it's doing? Is it pulling all the information that I expect it to? Is it pulling all the AWS accounts? Is it just pulling one AWS account, or is it pulling 10 or as many as are in the environment? So those type of things can be inspected directly from the Lambda code. But then I also have access to the product. So usually when we do these audits in the past, like I would just be looking at the product via some screen share, taking screenshots, and kind of guessing at things. But I actually have a user account in the product, so I can actually go in there. All the screenshots that Chad just showed you, I have like the actual application that I can go into, click buttons, and then connect. Oh, okay, this is what they've showed me in the code. This is what it shows in the actual application. And I can actually run the Lambdas on the fly, because as a customer, you can run the checks on the fly. And then for anything that we kind of have to kind of fill in the middle, we obviously did some interview sessions, some observations to see, okay, what can you show me, in between the front end and the code that I see? What's going on? Maybe I'm missing something. And it was a very iterative process during the first pilot phase. And it was good because, KSIs were coming out and they were working on it, and we would have a meeting. It was like, oh yeah, it's failing because we're still kind of getting it to work out. So the thing is working. The automation is working when everything is not green. And I'm a big believer in not trusting all the green check marks on the front end. So because as a dev, you can just you can do kind of different things and weird things and just show things that might not be true. So that's kind of the main focus for us as the repo, is to make sure what they're saying is true. That's our our job. So in a nutshell.
All right, I got a few questions, and I'll also open it up to some of my team as well. But I'm gonna go first with a big one here. So you have really demonstrated deep control of cloud native resources, right? Automation of machine-based information resources, really easy. One of the things that we made a lot more clear in phase 2 is that we're also expecting to see the KSIs addressed with non-machine-based information resources. A simple example of that is like a business that is tracking its finances and knows it has enough money to continue to operate its finances. Like, that is an information resource that is relevant to the security of the cloud service. Curious in general, not in those specific examples, but like in general, how have you approached mapping and tracking things that are not necessarily explicitly a technical machine-based resource built in Amazon?
Chad, I could take that. So what we've done for most of those, I'll give you a great example of one is, how do you measure executive support, right? Well, for one, I'm the executive of the company. So, there's the proof. But we did is we took documents and then I signed them, or the appropriate person in the company signed them, and we've put them into our document control center. We call it the vault. So you can go anywhere in the vault and you can find these documents. And then what we do is our check is to check to make sure that that document is there. And it's going to be after Ethan has reviewed those documents to ensure that they meet the spirit of what you're attempting to do with that specific either RFC and or KSI. We do the same thing with policies and procedures and other documents like that as well. What we want to get to is, is AI interpretation of that, but we're not there yet, So our AI now is our security analyst who are writing these documents or helping us write those documents. And then the 3PAO will review them to make sure that they're adequate to meet those. If you remember, Chad actually showed them to you in the presentation. They had a document side, and then we had an API side. API side is all metadata, right? It's easy. Bam. You can get that. The documents were a little bit harder, or it actually goes and looks for tickets as an example as well. Good stuff.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to work with you to see how we can extend that past a world where you can actually see the impact of some of those things as well, the intangibles. But so another question I had, this was actually, somebody made this point in a comment on one of our RFCs that I thought was like, it kind of short-circuited my brain for a little bit, that it was like, even if you're checking 6 times a day, it's still always a point in time check.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that has really been on my mind in phase 2 is, as time goes by, you start to get historical data. And like, what becomes more important to some degree is not like, is my S3 bucket configured securely today, but rather my S3 bucket has been securely configured for 364 hours or 364 days and like 23 hours out of the last year. So are you also intending to track like historical trends on these, and like, what does that look like for you?
So we already have it. It's already built in. And you can actually go back and look at our, I think we do our public once a day. So you can go back and track our public once a day. So you can actually go through and look at the individual snapshots of where we were that specific day. And you can see where we were working on certain things, and we went yellow, or we went red, or like I'll call Alex up and I'll say, where is this specific KSI? Oh, wait a minute, I commented that out. I've got to get it back in there. So you can actually see it, and you can see our work. So it's right there for you. So
that's the beauty of like that sort of reality, right? It's
The
like,
one,
yes,
the one thing that I will say,
that
and,
one
and
thing.
I tell you what, this has been, kind of flagging our brains as well, is the real time yet, is how much value is truly in that yet, right? So too much data can be too much data. So we're kind of, at first I wanted it to be real time live, at all times, but it can put a denial of service on your systems, because the more you monitor it, the more it can bring down the systems. So right now, I think we're doing it once a day. Is that correct, guys? Automatically, but then you can go in and you can run it once every 5 minutes, because it could take over 5 minutes to go through all of the KSIs, and we don't want to build up a queue. And the next thing you know, we get a down system because we thrashed it.
I'm laughing at the, like, it could take over 5 minutes to do a full digital assessment.
I know.
Of the entire system. Like, oh no, it's so long.
Right.
All right. Nicole, Dan, Emu, any questions that you guys want to tag in with?
One follow-up just to what you were asking, Pete. So can I do less than a full assessment? Like if there are specific controls that I care about,
Yep.
can I configure those to run more often?
Can we do that now? I don't know if we can do that now, guys, or the way we do it, but we could do that. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do, because it's just all on one schedule. And we have one step function that runs them all, basically, but we could configure that step function to do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah. The current feature right now, you can run individual families. So you could run CNA by itself instead of running the whole stack.
Yeah, I can see that being something that you would want to do, or some customers want to do too. Like, hey, this particular one, we're worried about it. Let's like check it every half an hour because we're constantly messing with it. The other stuff once a day, that's fine. That's probably great.
It's another way to think about this too, is it could turn into more of an alert thing, right? As opposed to a compliance thing. And then an alert thing then creates a ticket, then somebody goes, checks it out, right? That's kind of where I think we want this to go to, as opposed to the pretty green, red, yellow. I like the green, red, yellow, but still.
Yeah, I was thinking about it in terms of like an indicator of compromise. Like if there's a vulnerability out there and the exploitation of that vulnerability changes one of my security settings, I want to monitor that particular setting, in real time.
Yeah, so we would definitely do that in an alert, through one of the malware protections that we have in place, or through our SIM tool, or through one of the other mechanisms that we have in place, the event bridge or something like that, to be able to detect that right away. Less compliance, more operations, and that's kind of why we bleed both worlds, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, great call out. I was going to mention that, Gary. That sounds to me like change management, right?
Yeah.
Change management. Okay, hey, rerun KSIs, make sure we close them all back up, right?
Right.
I have a question about, there were a couple times where you mentioned that your KSI checks go to check that a document is in your trust center. Have you started thinking about how a particular KSI could check not only that a document is there, but that the data in that document is accurate? So the example that you gave about the SBOM, not only is the SBOM there, but you also run a regular inventory of the software that's installed in your environment and make sure that each piece of that software is accounted for in the SBOM.
So that is something I think we already do in what we call our Kanban automation, but it's not tracked in compliance. It's more an operations thing that might be too hard to track fully inside of compliance. And it really is an operations thing. You want to make sure that your Kanban is running appropriately as well. So the variables could get really large there for a compliance GRC tool. I think anyway, but I could be convinced otherwise.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say, I mean, this is a longer philosophical conversation to have in a different venue, but like that's an example of where, from a FedRAMP standpoint, we're not necessarily going to care about seeing the exact status of your SBOM all day, every day. But we do want to know that you have processes in place that are ensuring that that SBOM is accurate, et cetera.
Yeah, that's part of our Kanban automation perspective, right?
Emu, any questions on your end?
Yeah, so you were showing us your trust center that you put together and how you have kind of, private, public views. Is it accessible via API? Like, let's say I'm an agency, I'm using a customer that's hosted and leveraging you're a trust center and I want to ingest this information.
Gary, you wanted or me?
You go take it.
Yeah, definitely. So there is an API toolset that can be leveraged there, as well as in Command Center as well. So you'll notice we have the ability to leverage Command Center to pull information via API. We also wanted that to be able to go the opposite direction as well. And so yes, there would be some API integrations that could happen there. We're actually already doing that as a little bit as well. From Gary mentioned,
A
like
couple customers. Yeah.
Alerting and things of that nature, especially from the SecOps world that I come from. Very important for us to be able to integrate and monitor changes and things of that nature. So yeah.
All right, one last question here. In this pilot, in both of these pilots, the first one, especially in the second one, a part of this is making sure that our participants, in many cases, have like good opportunities and platforms to share their experiences with the community, so that everyone can learn from that. We can learn from their experiences, informally, things like that. Do you have some sort of platform like that, like maybe a podcast or something like that, that you would be talking about your participation in the phase 2 pilot on?
Funny you asked that question. We got a great podcast called Behind the Shield. If you have not listened to it, you should. Ethan's been on it. I think we might have Pete on it sometime soon. We tend to bring 3PAOs on, some of our other partners on, and ourselves. We talk, I think, a lot about 20x on there as well. And then we really do have a fairly good marketing team who's out there trying to platform this as much as we can across the board as well. Love to get more speaking engagements, but we live in the mountains of North Carolina, so we're not really close to any large cities. So I'm actually going to a meeting tomorrow in DC, so I have to drive all the way up tomorrow because it's just not convenient to fly. I live 2 hours away from an airport, so I could get to DC in 5 hours. So might as well keep my car with me when I go. So it does create a little bit of inconvenience from a person-to-person perspective, but we're willing to do whatever it takes to be there. So
yeah. Hey, Gary, can I tag team on that real quick? I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but that's one of the things too that we discussed really when 20x kind of kicked off, right? Is this, we're seeing this kind of dynamic shift a little bit, right? It's not even marketing teams anymore. It's almost media teams.
Right.
And so we've taken that approach here at InfusionPoints, right? Podcasting, shorts, YouTube videos and things of that nature, and constantly helping spread the word. That's kind of what goes back to what Gary was just talking about. Like, we're excited about this, and we want to talk about it any opportunity that we can. So,
well, we very much appreciate your passion, your interest, and your continued execution along this. And